Penny Richards saw gray hair among the brown strands. She saw him when she started combing her. Long hair. There he is, in the mirror. The 43-year-old mother of three stopped and stared at the offending hair. Then she pulled it out. She reached out and tugged hard, pulling out several brown hairs. Then, to avoid missing a few others upon closer inspection, she pulled her hair into a ponytail. Even while getting dressed, she continued to look in the mirror to see if there were any more gray hairs. Her size 3 breasts still hung proudly and beautifully on her body. Her waist, despite carrying 3 children, was a respectable 30 inches, although her belly had bulged a little. And her ass, her friends kept telling her that they wished they had an ass like hers. William Richards, her husband, also often complimented her butt. William, not Bill, not Will, not even Billy, or Willie, still not satisfied that there was a gray streak in her long brown hair, but resigned to the fact that she wouldn't be able to find it. That morning, Penny left her bedroom. "Mom, I'm late for that stupid bus again," the youngest Jenica announced, slamming the front door. Usually, Penny gently reproached her daughter for being idle, for oversleeping. But today, more than ever, Penny exploded in a fit of rage, shocked by her mother's behavior. Jenica ran to her room, wailing. "Damn it, Jenica, I'm sorry," Penny growled, upset with herself. Finally, after nearly 10 minutes of apologizing and hugging, Jenica and Penny got into Penny's 6-year-old Toyota Camry and drove to Baylor Lake High School, where Jenica was a sophomore. They arrived shortly before the first bell, so Jenica was not late for school. Promising that next time it would be better and kissing her mother on the cheek, Jenica left. Absorbed in the crowd of schoolchildren, Penny went to the grocery store, did her shopping for the week, and even smiled when the young man who was bagging her groceries couldn't seem to look past her breasts. She turned as she passed the stroller, and sure enough, the young man was looking at her butt in her tight blue jeans. "Honey, I have a child older than you," Penny wanted to tell the young man. "Actually, these are my jeans," Penny thought and smiled, pushing the stroller out into the August humidity. Rachel, their eldest daughter, was living with Brad Bertrand, and the two were planning their wedding. Both Brad and Rachel were scheduled to graduate from the University of Louisiana at DeGard next May and get married the first weekend in June. William didn't like Rachel and Brad living together. He had old-fashioned values and views on these things. "Come on, William." Penny laughed at him. "How old were we when we started doing this business?" "Study?" asked William. "Cooking bacon. Point a finger. Play hide the salami." Penny made fun of her husband, who was stuck in a quagmire. "I prefer to think that this is love-making." William pursed his lips when he heard her laugh. "Actually, I still prefer to think of it as making love," he said. "And I certainly don't like the thought of my little girl being studying, as you call it." "Oh, never mind, Daddy." Penny laughed. "But let me guess, if Clay wanted to have sex with Chelsea, it would be a completely different matter, right? If her mother and father don't mind, then everything is fine," William said. Now in the grocery store parking lot, Penny bent down to put away groceries. At the same time, she tried to remember the last time she and William tried to make business or love. "Haven't tried it for a long time," she admitted, as she straightened up. Penny saw that an African-American man was watching her. He wasn't embarrassed by being caught looking at her. The man smiled at her and continued walking through the grocery store. "Pull up your pants, idiot," Penny wanted to tell this cheeky man, "and get out of the middle of the aisle. Will you? People need to know the rules of the road, you know." When she arrived home, Harris, the young man who lived next door, had apparently skipped class that day. He gave his neighbor a sheepish smile. "Hello, Miss Richards, do you need help?" he suggested as she began to pull bags of groceries out of the trunk of the car. Harris had a bit of a crush on Jenica, but she didn't seem to care much for the handsome 18-year-old. William suggested that Harris was not as in love with Jenica as he was with Penny. In fact, William mentioned this more than once when the Phillips came over to the neighbor's house for a barbecue or to splash around in the pool. The time Penny dared to wear a bikini outdoors seemed to add weight to William's assertion. Harris couldn't take his eyes off Penny. With the help of Harris, Penny was able to free the car fairly quickly. Harris then stayed and helped her clean everything up. At first, Penny thought it must be an accident, the constant pushing and touching while working. But when Harris's hand found her firm ass for the fourth time, Penny knew it was intentional. She smiled at the young man, smiled at his hot blush. Then she leaned over and kissed him. He almost dropped the jar of mayonnaise when she pressed her lips to his. Luckily, he placed the jar on the counter. Harris was a slightly skinny boy who didn't play sports at all, but at the same time, he was a handsome young man with light brown hair, warm brown eyes, and a crooked smile. He was terribly inexperienced at kissing, and Penny had to place a hand on his skinny chest to slow him down. Then she kissed his neck. He giggled from the tickling. Her hand came to rest on the bulge in his jeans, and he gasped. Then she kissed him again and knelt down. Kneeling on the kitchen floor, Penny unzipped his jeans and gasped as he immediately climaxed and shot all over her face, hair, throat, and blouse. "Oh my God," Harris moaned in pleasure and embarrassment. Penny was amazed at the resilience of the young people. Even after such a strong climax from Harris, he remained firm and proud. The second climax followed almost immediately after Penny began to pay attention to his manhood below the belt. "Sonny, you should warn your lover when you're gonna do this," Penny gently reproached the young man. "Sorry, Miss Richards." Harris sighed. She pulled off her blouse, wiping the results of his climax from her face. She then unclasped her bra and Harris's eyes stared at her breasts. Penny stripped herself of her clothes. She left it on the kitchen floor and dragged Harris into the bedroom. On her bed, she laid Harris on his back and undressed him. Her first climax was quick, as Penny always did when she was very excited. And now, she was very excited. Harris immediately followed, reaching his denouement for the third time. This round was followed by the next, and again, each of them reached the end. "I think we better put away the rest of the food," Penny said after they had been sitting there for a few minutes. "Yes, ma'am," Harris agreed. That evening, William was both amused and excited by Penny's attempt to rush Clay and Jenica to dinner before heading to their rooms to do homework. "Come on, Tiger Cub," Penny said when she managed to get the children to go to their rooms. "Let's get down to business. Shall we get busy?" William joked. "What? Do you want to do our taxes?" "About? No, I know you want to clean the utility room, right? Come on, idiot." Penny laughed, pulling him with her into their bedroom. At 45, William was no longer as quick to react as Harris. He also had a small beer belly and thin white legs, but William had a large manhood and a bit of mature stamina. He managed to bring Penny to climax 3 times before he came to the denouement. And as she cleaned herself up before putting on a short nightgown, Penny saw 2 gray pubic hairs among her dark brown locks. All the good, contented feelings that she might have felt at this time disappeared. She decided to shave her bush the next morning. William had already asked her to shave several times. What better reason than a few gray hairs? The next morning, William leaned over and kissed her on the cheek. "Love you," he muttered before getting out of bed. He went to prepare breakfast for the whole family, prepared lunches for Clay and Jenica, and asked Jenica to hurry up before she would be late again. "I know yesterday I was late for that stupid bus," Jenica agreed. "Is it true? And how did you determine the intelligence or lack of intelligence of the bus?" William teased. "Stop it, you know what I mean." Jenica giggled, running out the door. "Do you want me to take her?" Clay suggested. "Do you want to get to what's there Thursday?" "No, I want you to get to Western civilization," William said. Then with another kiss to Penny's cheek, William left, leaving Penny alone in their house. She made sure she was alone. She was naked. Penny walked into the kitchen, took a pair of scissors out of the drawer, and returned to the bathroom. She sat down on the chest of drawers and cut off her thick hair. She then took a warm washcloth and applied it to the stubble that now covered her crotch. It took 3 applications of shaving gel, 3 strokes of the razor. But finally, Penny was completely bald and smooth, without any offensive gray hairs. Betsy Phillips must be a gullible mother. Harris skipped school for the second time. Penny almost groaned when she opened the door to find a grinning boy on the porch. "Harris, honey, how come we did what we did yesterday? It was a mistake." Penny chided him gently. "I didn't think it was a mistake," answered the grinning boy. Penny saw Mrs. Otchley, the unfriendly woman from across the street, scowling at them. She pulled Harris into the house before she could close the door completely. Harris clumsily tried to kiss her. "Harris, honey, stop. We need to talk." Penny tried softly. She really tried. Penny tried very gently to calm the boy down. They were talking while sitting on the sofa. She held his hand, explaining that she was having an attack, possibly hormonal. She explained that she was married, very happily married to William. She explained that he would meet and fall in love with someone closer to his age. Then they went to her bedroom and had sex. Harris liked that she shaved. Penny didn't even have to instruct him. Harris leaned over and began to give her pleasure. That evening, William was also excited. He really liked that she shaved. He caressed her completely bald private part and led to climax. Then during intercourse, she came to 3 more endings. "So why did you decide to do this?" William asked Penny as they cuddled in postcoital bliss. "I saw a couple of gray hairs there," Penny admitted. The next day, Friday, Harris did go to school. Penny was able to take care of the household chores she had neglected on Wednesday and Thursday. That evening, Jenica was meeting friends at the Bowl-O-Rama in Bender, Louisiana, and Clay had a date with Chelsea, so William and Penny were left to their own devices. Penny noticed that Harris was among those going to Bowl-O-Rama and felt a surge of indignation. She didn't know why this was happening. She just felt it, and she rejected William's advances. She was simply not in the mood. Harris waited 3 weeks before stopping again. Once again, he knocked on Penny's door. They didn't talk and went straight into the bedroom. In the midst of their sexual play, the husband's voice was heard. William said, "I forgot my laptop." Penny screamed. "Oh no." Harris groaned when he saw Mr. Richards at the door. "So I came back to pick him up," William said sadly. "William, honey, it's not so." "It's not what?" "It seems." Penny cried. "And I got it," William said, holding up the laptop case. "Oh no," Harris groaned. William was gone before Penny could jump out of bed and into the hallway. She tried to call his mobile phone. After several calls, she got his cheerful voicemail message. She called Bernie, the school secretary, and begged her to ask Mr. Richards to call her as soon as he arrived. The kids at Andrew Jackson Elementary School must have been particularly rowdy that day. William never called. Bernie assured Mrs. Richards that she had conveyed a message to Mr. Richards. Penny prepared pork chops, mashed potatoes, and lima beans. William's favorite dinner. "Great, Mom," Clay said happily. "Pork chops." "Wow, pork chops." Jenica agreed. Penny was shocked when William arrived at 520 his usual time. The man looked much older than his 45 years. He was happy, that morning brown eyes sparkling as he kissed her and grabbed her buttocks before leaving the house. Now his skin was ashen and his brown eyes looked empty and lifeless. "Not hungry," he muttered and headed to his office. "William, honey, I'm so sorry," Penny said, following him into the office. "So what did you tell Jenica and Clay?" William asked tiredly. "About what?" asked Penny, whose heart sank at the sight of her husband. "About why we are getting divorced," William said heavily. "Divorce? We're not getting divorced." Penny forced herself not to shout those terrible words. "Oh, yes, ma'am, of course we're getting a divorce," said William, showing the first signs of life. He sat up in his leather chair. "I'll be damned if I stay married to a woman who seduced an 18-year-old child." He growled angrily. He rose to his feet. "Child? Damn it, Penny, really? The neighbor's child?" The child we watched grow up. And are you having sex with him? He shouted. Please, please keep it down, Penny hissed, hoping, praying that Clay and Jenica hadn't heard their father's statement. Why on earth, Penny? William shouted. Sooner or later, they'll figure it out anyway, won't they? They'll figure it out when I move. Will you move? William, you can't. Penny begged. Then you can fuck him. Hell, you can fuck the whole neighborhood if you want. William growled. He quickly pushed past her. I'm leaving, he growled. Jenica and Clay stood looking at Penny with a lost, pained expression on their faces. Penny felt a sudden wave of anger as she looked at her children. What? She screamed. Hey, what? 30 minutes later, she slammed the oven door, pulled out the pork chops, placed a chop on 3 plates, poured beans and mashed potatoes onto the plates, and plopped them on the table. Dinner, she screamed at the top of her lungs. I'm not hungry, Clay said gloomily from the threshold of his room. Come here and eat this damn food now, Penny screamed. I'm not in the mood to deal with any nonsense, you hear? The meal passed in silence. Both Clay and Jenica seemed to feel that if they did not eat everything on their plates, they would be lighting a powder keg and obediently chew and swallow. It was almost midnight when William returned. Penny pursed her lips. He smelled of beer and cigarette smoke. Then she felt a surge of hope. Usually when he smelled of beer and cigarettes, it meant he was in the dead-end bar, looking at young girls who were taking off their clothes for tips. Penny hoped it was William's tit-for-tat salvo. So, what did you eat at Dead End? Penny asked as he untied his shoelaces. Stuffed pork chops, William answered languidly. Wow, what a coincidence. Penny tried to grin. Uh-huh. How about this? William answered evenly. On Saturday morning, Penny woke up to William quietly getting out of bed. The gray dawn was barely visible through the gap in the heavy curtains. She decided that he wanted to get to work in the yard early before the day's humidity made the work too difficult. Penny fell asleep. She woke up again when she heard the voices of Jenica and Clay arguing playfully. She slipped her feet into slippers and went to the kitchen where Jenica was preparing scrambled eggs. The 3 of them watched in shock as William entered the house carrying flattened boxes from the U-Haul store. No, Jenica screamed and ran out of the room. Clay took one look at Penny and ran out of the house. God, William, please, Penny sobbed. William paused for a moment, then walked past Penny into the bedroom. Penny sat at the kitchen table and sobbed with her head in her hands. William walked through the kitchen to the garage, carrying one box. When he returned, he placed his hand on Penny's trembling shoulder for a moment. Then he returned to the bedroom. When he returned, carrying the second box, Penny jumped up and blocked the garage doorway. Please move, Penny. William sighed. No, hell no, Penny screamed. Penny moved, William said, his voice firm. No, Penny sobbed. William set the box down on the kitchen floor and shook Penny as he picked it up and slung it over his shoulder. He walked to the sliding glass door and opened it. William, put me down, Penny screamed as he walked out into the backyard. Penny screamed in horror as her husband threw her into the pool. The thin nightgown was see-through as she floated to the stairs and climbed out. One of the slippers fell off and was bobbing in the water. She tossed the other one away and walked towards the sliding glass door. You damn son of a bitch, Penny screamed when she realized he had locked the door. William, open the door, she screamed at banging on the door. A few minutes later, Jenica finally opened the door to her mother. Where is your father? Penny growled. But William, his clothes, books, and office equipment were gone. The call to his cell phone went to a cheerful voicemail. Penny screamed indignantly and hung up. It was Tuesday morning after a quiet, bitter weekend, after a lonely Monday, when Richard Boudreau knocked on the door of the Richards' house. Hello, I'm Richard Boudreau, said the smiling man. Ma'am, what kind of flowers are these? I really like that they are so striped. Mint camellias, Penny said, looking at the flowers next to the front door. Ma'am, you're Penny Richards, aren't you? Asked Richard. Yes, Penny agreed, still looking at the flowers. And you've already been surveyed, Richard said, handing her a large manila envelope. Have a nice day. He photographed her with a digital camera. I sent my Bernier photo of these flowers. I bet that in less than 10 minutes, she will tell me that we need to have some. The man smiled, opening the door of the Ford Taurus. He laughed a happy laugh. This is a woman, I'll tell you, he said. She knows that all she has to do is ask, and everything will be hers. During lunch, William finally took out his mobile phone. Penny's tearful message broke his heart, and he almost deleted it. But in the message, she admitted to her affair with Harris Phillips, and William saved her message for his lawyer. Trevor Williams, his divorce lawyer, noted that if Penny or Harris did not admit to the affair, then Penny could deny it happened. This is a no-fault state, Mr. Williams, Williams said. Right, Trevor agreed. But adultery gives us more leverage over alimony. God, give her this damn house, Williams snapped, at least until Jenica decides to go to college. What else does she need, huh? Sir, according to you, Mrs. Richards has not worked since Rachel was born 22 years ago. Is that correct? Said Trevor. It's high time she got back to work, don't you think? William snapped. But now, listening to her whiny voice, hearing the suffering and fear in her voice, William felt neither a sense of victory nor a sense of moral justification. On Wednesday morning, Jenica quietly suggested that her mother go to a lawyer, look over the divorce petition, and make sure everything was fair. There's nothing fair about divorce, Jenica. Penny snapped. Maybe not, but still maybe you should contact a lawyer. Jenica said quietly. You're right, honey. Penny said heavily. Penny was combing her long brown hair when she saw another offending hair with gray. She pulled it out forcefully. She then pulled out 2 more gray hairs that she noticed on the left side of her head. Nicole Banks, a lawyer at Couture and Associates, arrived at work at 11 o'clock that morning. Nicole Banks was an attractive young woman. The lawyer looked much younger than Rachel, and Penny felt offended when she spoke to the young lawyer. Your husband didn't freeze the accounts, did he? Nicole asked. God, you don't think William wouldn't do this? He knows I need this money. Penny stammered. With Penny's permission, Nicole checked the family's account and 2 credit cards. Nobody touched them. Nicole quickly filed a motion to stop payments to protect Penny from any attempts to freeze the accounts. She also filed a petition for marital counseling. Although Nicole's youth still irritated Penny, she thanked the young lawyer. Mrs. Richards, I sincerely hope that this consultation will be beneficial, Nicole said. But I want you to be prepared for the possibility that this might not work. Okay. Despite Trevor Williams' objections, Judge Marie Robas' show still ordered counseling, saying both parties must attend at least 8 sessions. Dr. Sylvia Hooperstein was notorious for siding with women in her consultations and determining that more sessions might be needed, often recommending up to 21 sessions, the maximum most judges would agree to. Penny sat and cried and sobbed and apologized to William for the first 40 minutes of their first session. Well, can I call you Will? Asked Sylvia. Mr. Richards will be fine. Thank you. William grumbled. I don't see the need for such formality. Sylvia grumbled. Well, Dr. Hooperstein, when will you pay me? Then you can make that decision, William said, because I'm the one who pays you. Because it's my salary that pays the bills. I'm the one who makes this decision. Great. Sylvia growled. Do you have anything to add to what Penny just said? No, not really, said William. She had sex with a neighbor, 18-year-old guy. No amount of sorry, and it didn't mean anything can fix it, can't unscrew it. The second session was almost a mirror image of the first. In the third session, Sylvia decided to let William go first instead of letting Penny go first. She pleased this 18-year-old guy, William said, wearily. She had sex with a neighbor, no amount of sorry, and it didn't mean anything. Will fix anything. He turned and looked into the angry Penny's face. But damn, just out of curiosity, let me ask you something, huh? Said William. Let's say you left the house, went to the grocery store, then saw that you forgot your purse, came home, and let's say found me in bed with that little Therese pregnant, right? Penny visibly flinched, her face tense. Yeah, said William. It's not that simple, is it? But she's just a child, Penny snapped. She's 18, the same age as Harris. Legally, William replied. He grinned, and he always walks around shoving his huge breasts in my face at every opportunity, William continued. So the next 43 minutes were occupied by Penny's complaints about the neighbors. Lolita, who was clearly not indifferent to her husband. At the beginning of the 8th session, Sylvia mentioned the possibility of asking for additional sessions. If you do this, I will subpoena your records, William threatened. He rose to his feet. I'm sure the court would like to see how many extensions you asked for that. Still ended in divorce, he said. Where are you going? We still have 48 minutes, Sylvia snapped. Will another 48 minutes of me listening to her? Or you talking nonsense help get Harris Phillips down? Is it really because of this that my wife's infidelity will never happen? Would another 48 minutes of this boring chatter make her infidelity go away? No. Then I'm done, William said, and left the office because he failed to complete all 8 court-ordered sessions. Sylvia maliciously informed Judge Robichaud of William's dereliction of duty. Because William was a teacher, Judge Robichaud refused to issue a warrant for his arrest, but ordered him to teach one last class. William was true to his word. A subpoena appeared from Trevor Williams demanding all records of court. Ordered marital counseling for the previous 5 years. I told you not to do this, Penny told Sylvia as Williams sat in the doctor's office. Like the fact that he refuses to be called anything other than William. He's also completely stubborn. Penny rose to her feet. Where are you going? Asked Sylvia. I'm so sorry, William. Penny said, fresh tears welling in her eyes. I really hoped that you would see that I was ready to fight for our marriage, but apparently not. But I'm not ready to keep my legs closed. William snapped. Penny left the office. Well, that's probably all, Sylvia sighed. You can go, William. Oh, no ma'am, William chuckled. You ordered me to return for the last session. Well, I'm here and we still have 37 minutes. So for 37 minutes, William sat and looked at the doctor. At first she tried to maintain eye contact. 3 minutes later, she was busy with other things. Finally, she growled, Go. Okay, just leave. You win. Okay. Have a nice day, Dr. Hooperstein, William said and left the office. Super One Foods hired Penny Richards to work evenings. William quickly learned that being a housewife wasn't just about sitting around cleaning the house. Even though Clay drove a car, he often depended on other people to feed him, clean his clothes, and finance his social life. Jenica didn't know how to drive, but she participated in several events and constantly needed a driver. So if there is any silver lining to this divorce, it is that William has become more involved in the lives of his 2 youngest children. And finally, the marriage ended with a few scribbles on legal papers. Penny kept the house until Jenica turned 21. The house will then be sold, and the proceeds will be divided 5,050. William's retirement accounts will also be split 5,050 upon his retirement. Nobody won any victory. No one felt a sense of satisfaction or moral superiority. One evening, while browsing through a middle-aged woman's groceries, Penny noticed a box of hair dye among the merchandise. Chestnut brown. I wish I had thought of that before, Penny said out loud. At 43, she cheated on her husband with an 18-year-old guy living next door. One day, he caught them in the middle of sex. He filed for divorce. She asked not to do this. However, he did not change his decision. Consultations did not help either. They were divorced. Nobody won any victory. No one felt any sense of satisfaction or moral superiority. 4-5 about. Next one.